Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and this is my diagonal granny square. So it's worked in stripes, as you can see, but usually stripes go up, but this goes in a diagonal. And I have done two, this one and I have done this one. Now this was the tutorial one. Okay, so on the tutorial I will start using a magic ring. With this one, I started using a chain 4, slip stitching into the first to make the ring. And I prefer this way, but I wanted to see what they both come out like. So on the tutorial, it will be magic ring. And the only difference between them is this hole here is a little smaller than this one here. So I prefer this one. I also prefer the colours, but that's not the point. I did this one in lighter colours because this would be difficult to see with that purple. It's almost like crocheting with black. So yeah, that's why I did it. So I did it with a 4mm crochet hook. You'll need a darning needle and a pair of scissors. Now, everything except the scissors is available in my shop, hobbyrocks.co.uk. You'll find a link in the description box along with a voucher code. So if you're watching this as part of my year of granny squares, then the left-handed version, as ever, will start when this one finishes, and there'll be a timestamp in the description box for that one. But I do know that lots of you do like to watch both for me. If you're watching it as part of a compilation, the left-handed compilation will be a separate video. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. Now, you can change colour on every row if you want. You can change colour every 4 rows, however many you want to do. But you must realise, though, that if you do that, after row 8, that's when we start decreasing. So just be mindful of your colour changes and how they're going to work out over this. Unless you do another row and you make it bigger, you can make it as big as you want. But for this one, row 9 starts the decreasing. Okay, so again, I strongly recommend that you start with a chain 4 ring because it is easier when you get to the corners. Okay, I'm going to pause this then, and I will come back to you and we'll get started. Okay, to start this square then, we're going to start with a magic ring. And I'm going to show you how to do mine. If you haven't seen it already, it's very easy. We just make a loop, we insert the hook, bring the yarn through and make 1 chain, and you've done it. That's all there is to it. So in this ring, I'm going to do my stack to get me up to the height of a UK treble crochet, which is a double crochet in the US. And to do that, I just go into the loop and bring up a loop, yarn over and pull through both. And then in this one little leg on the side here, reinsert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all of those. So we have the equivalent of 2 chain there. So that's got me up to the height of a UK treble crochet. And now I'm going to do a treble crochet in there. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that loop and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 of them, yarn over and pull through the other 2. So that's a UK treble or a double crochet in the US. So if I say treble crochet, then you'll know that I mean your double if you work in US terms. So I have 2 and I want 5. Okay, so I'm going to make another 3 UK treble crochets. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to pull this closed. Okay, so now we have 5 stitches. I'm going to turn my work and make my stack in that very first stitch. No chains, just do the same as I did before. Now in between my first 2 stitches of the previous row, so I've got this one here, I'm going to place 3 UK trebles, just like any granny square. Okay, so between my last two, I'm going to place 3. Okay, so now I want to put 1 in the top of my stack there, which gives me those lovely 2 loops to go in. And we have got what the equivalent of 4 each side. I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to do my stack in this first stitch, just as before. Here's me. And between my first 2 stitches again, I'm going to place 3. And now we have a space. We're going to place 3, just like any kind of granny square segment. And in between my last 2, I'm going to place 3. Nearly there. Okay, just bear with me a second. I just need to sneeze. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Okay, so now I'm going to do my last one into my stack, which you've got this lovely 2 loops to go into, but I'm going to finish that stitch in another colour. So I'm going to go through 2 and stop there. And then, I don't know where my other genie is, so let's pop that one over there. But actually, I'm going to cut this, leave a nice long tail for sewing in. I'm not going to weave these in as I go because I think it will confuse too much. So I'm just going to leave them for now and we'll deal with them at the end. But obviously, as you get used to doing this, you can work them in. So I'm going to leave a nice long tail and I'm going to finish that stitch in my new colour. Okay, so because I've changed colour, I'm just going to do a chain and cinch it down so it's practically non-existent, okay? Now I'm going to turn my work, and people always ask me why I turn my hook, because I just feel like it's not facing the right way. It's just a personal thing. So in my first stitch, I'm going to do that stack. Just the same. And in between my first 2, I'm going to make my 3. And then in between my clusters, whoops, it does help to take it with you, I'm going to make my 3s. And then 1 in the next one. Between my last 2, I'm going to place my last 3. It's because my camera's in between and it's a strange angle to work at. So I drop it. Okay, and then 1 in the stack to give me my nice straight edge. And turn. So normally speaking, when I'm doing a granny square, I don't like to turn my work, but obviously with this one, it's kind of that way or not at all, isn't it? So again, make the stack in the next stitch. Between the first 2, we do our segment of 3. And in our spaces, we're going to place 3. And we're going to place 3 in between our last 2 stitches. Okay, so I shall pause it then, and I'll come back to you once I've got to this end. Okay, so I'm at the very last stitch. All I have to do now is 1 in my stack. So I did 3 rows along here. This is a granny square and I can't call it around. That's crazy. But I did 3 rows. So I'm going to do 1 more row of this colour. Now it is a little bit thicker, this yarn, so it might look a little more. So I'm going to do my first one as always, as ever, the stack there, and 3 in between the first 2. And I'm going to place 3 in all of my spaces and 3 in this last one. So you guessed it, I shall pause the video then and come back to you once I get back to this corner. Okay, so I'm back. Last stitch again, but I'm going to change colours on this one. So I'm going to leave that there. Snip that off. Take this colour away. And I'm going to bring my first one back in. And it is a variegated yarn, so it will change to a kind of a greeny colour now. And that may or may look good. We'll see. I'm going to finish that stitch with my new colour. Because it's a new colour, I'm just going to pull it down. That way I don't have to tie this in a knot. Not for now anyway. So I'm going to do my stack as my first stitch again. Ordinarily I would have worked over the tails and stuff, but I don't want to confuse anyone here. So in between my first 2, as always, my segment of 3. And you guessed it, I'm going to put 3 in all of these, 3 in between the last 2, and I'll catch up with you once we get back to the end. Right then, I am back and I'm going to do my last one in this stitch. So this next round is our last increase round, and from there on I will show you how we're going to decrease it to become a square. I mean, obviously, if you wanted to, you could just keep this going and make a humongous triangle. Or there are other ways to make triangles, I know, but you could do that if you wanted to. But this is my last increase round, so we're just going to repeat the sequence again, exactly the same, by placing 3 in our end. Our first one in the stack, and then our segments of 3. Okay, so I will do the same, 1 in each. I'll catch up with you once we get back to the last stitch. Okay, so in keeping with the pattern, we have one more row of this variegated yarn to do. So I'm going to do my last one in my stack there. Turn my work, and I'm going to do my stack in this stitch as always. And now we're going to skip this part. We're just going to do 3 in our first cluster. And then we're going to place 3 in each of our spaces, exactly the same as usual. Okay, but I will meet up with you once I get back to this space here. Okay, so I'm there now, and I'm going to skip over these, and I'm going to do my last one in that stack, but I'm going to change colour because this is my 3rd row of this colour. You can also change colour whenever you want. You know, you don't have to do the same as me with 3 rows of colour. You can do 2, you can do whatever you want. You can make it all in one variegated colour or whatever. So last stitch is done, finished in this here blue colour. Okay, so I need to pull that down so it became a little baggy. Right, so now we're just going to repeat that sequence. Okay, we're going to do our first stitch will be the stack there, and we're going to skip these stitches and go straight to our cluster. And into the next one. So we're just going to repeat that all the way. I'll catch up with you. I'll pause it then and catch up with you once I get to my very kind of last real 2 clusters. Okay, so I've made it all the way back, and I'm going to go into the 2 stitches of my stack there and do my last stitch. Okay, so now you can see we've been coming up and now we're going back. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to turn our work. First stitch will be the stack. Whoops. It's hard when you've got a camera in between, puts you off a little bit. That didn't go according to plan. I'm going to do that. It's split. Oh my. Okay. Just want to hold it properly. Okay. Get that stack done. That's better. And we're going to skip over these and straight into our spaces. We're just going to do that the same as before, repeating that round. And when we get to our last, between our last 2 proper clusters, I will meet you here. Okay, so here we are, last 3. Ignore that space and just do 1 straight into the top of that stack. This blue yarn does like to split. Okay, turn our work, repeat that, but at the end of this one we'll change colour again because this is our 3rd, or my 3rd row. Skipping over and going into the spaces. Okay, so this one's just a repeat. I'll catch up with you at the end of this row and we'll change our colour. Okay, so I've made it to my very last. Go into the top of that stack and bring in my new colour. I'm not happy about all these ends, but you know, you can work over them in your way, like I would if it was not this tutorial. I don't want to confuse you by bringing all that into it as well. So, and that was made that baggy as well, so we'll give that a little pull down. We'll turn and we'll do our stack in that first stitch. And now we're going to go 1, 2, 3 segments and end our row exactly the same. So we'll do that. I'll pause this video and I'll catch up with you once we get to the end of this round row. Okay, so here I am. Done my last, and I'm going to go into the top of my stack if I can get my hook in and complete my last stitch. Turn my work, and now every time we do this we have 1 less to do. So now we've just got the 2 sets of 3. Might as well stick with you. And we're going to go into the top of the stack and do our last stitch. So now we should have just 1 left to do. So we're going to do the stack. Our last 3. And then into the top of our stack for our last stitch. And that kind of completes our square, although it's got kind of rounded ends. So how do we combat that? Well, we can do a stack in our last stitch and our top of the previous row's stack. now we have a point. We don't have that same point this end, but that's because I've pulled that rather tight, but we do have that stitch to go into there. So what we can do now is we can border this, and you can choose to do the border in the same yarn, or you can switch your yarn now and make it a white round. So might as well just stick with this colour, and we'll just go 1 and whoops it's not easy when you've got this camera in the way, and 2, and then we're going to work along this edge. We'll go into, the beauty of that stack is that you get a nice fat kind of stitch to pull your border. You know, sometimes when you work along an edge, you don't really get the beauty of kind of a stitch, and you can't really see where you want to place your stitch. But with this one, you almost get those lovely 2 loops all the way along, presenting themselves so that you can pick up your stitches all the way along your border. I guess if I'd done it in white, it would have looked, you'd have seen it a little better, but I'm going to work over these tails. This is just easy that way. My hook is squeaking. It's driving me a little bananas. Sorry, we had a van go by and the sun was beating down on its windows and it got a little blind in, so I'm going to drop. Oh, I have to wipe this. Hang on a second, guys. Hopefully that's better. So I'm going to drop them now. Well, actually, I'll snip them because they're going to get in the way. I'm just going to snip them off. Okay. So now I'm kind of at the corner. So I'm going to place 1 here. And now I'm at the corner stitch exactly. I'm going to do 1 and 2, well, 1 chain, sorry, and another stitch there. It's going to turn the corner for me. You want to make sure you go in every single stitch all the way along. Pick them up nice and even all the way down. And I'm going to work over the tails as I go. I want to get in there. It's where I've changed colours. It can sometimes be a little trickier. Okay, so I'm just going to do that all the way around, and when I get to this corner, in that stitch there, which I'm going to, you can always, if it's just too closed, I did pull it a bit tight, you can work it open a little bit with a darning needle. So when I get to this one, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do 1 UK double crochet, which is a single in the US, a chain and another one, and then just carry on working over every single tail as I go. Okay, so I'm going to do that all the way along this edge as well. Do the same at this corner and come all the way back. And once I get back to the start, I'll show you how we end off. Okay, so I'm back right where we started, and I just need to do 1 more in there, 1 chain and slip stitch into my first stitch. And I am finished. And now, because I've worked over all of them as I've gone, I've only got 1 end to sew in. So that's my diagonal granny square. Hope you like that. And well, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye for now. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and for part 1 of a year of granny squares, I'm going to show you how to do this really cute heart granny square. Now that I've got 2 in front of you because I wanted to show you the 2 different ways. Now, because you're changing colour fairly often, there tends to be a lot of ends, and a lot of people don't like ends sewing in. Some don't mind, but I'm going to show you the way that I've done this. This is the carrying your yarn. Is it? Or this one? Yeah, this is the carrying your yarn method. And as you can see, you're going to see this. And I'm not keen. I don't know about you, but that kind of, it's not so prominent on the front, although you can see that white there. The colour changes in this are so stark that you're going to see it. So unless you want to do really pastel shades that might hide each other, then you're not going to get this look. I don't like the carrying the yarn, but I did it this way to show you how that's going to look. And you only get like 3 little ends, but you get this. And that's already kind of bulging. So, you know, that's horrible. Don't like that at all. This way I did change colour. And as you can see, it's a lot nicer than the other way. Now, as you can see, I have 3 ends because of the way that I carried my tails. Okay, so I'm going to show you this way, and hopefully I'm not going to mess up because it can get confusing. So it's all right when you're doing it for yourself. Now I'm doing this with a 4.5mm crochet hook, and I have some fairly kind of standard thickness DK yarn. Okay, so I'm going to start with a magic loop. You can start with chaining 4 and joining them together, but you won't get a tight, you won't be able to do that and get a really tight middle. But if you don't mind the little circle in the middle, then that's fine. I did both that way, but I haven't secured them. So you can see if you did a 4 chain method, you're going to get a hole a little like that. But my method of doing the magic loop is extremely easy, and since I started showing everybody how to do this, I've noticed other people showing it too, so it's that easy. But the trick with this is always leave a nice long tail with everything you're doing so that you can easily sort that out. So make sure you've got enough yarn for your project, whatever it is you're going to do. So there we are. I'm going to show you again. I did that too quick, didn't I? It's that simple. You make a loop, and then you bring the yarn through the loop. It's easier to do than to show. And you've done it, really, haven't you? So I'm going to make my chain to secure it. And there it is. I'll show you once more. You make a loop. You bring the yarn through the loop. And you've done it, really, haven't you? One more time. It's so simple. Usually I do it with my hook. I just poke my hook in, bring the yarn through, and do my chain. So there we are, we're done. Okay, I won't show you anymore. Let me just tilt this down a little bit. Okay, I possibly should have used a different colour crochet hook for this. I'm wondering if I know where my 4.5 is. No, I don't. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start how I start all my projects now. And that with the stack stitch. I call it the stack because if you're using UK terms, it's a stacking double. And if you're using US terms, it's a stack single. So I just pop my hook in that ring, yarn over and pull up the loop, yarn over and pull through both. And then this one loop at the side, there's your stitch. This one here, I'm just going to pop my hook in, yarn over and pull through that. So I've got 2 on my hook again, yarn over, pull through both. So why do I do that? Because when I go round and I get to my, if you had 2 chains, some people say 3, but when you get round, you've got 2 loops to go into, just like a normal stitch. It's so much easier, it really is. Okay, so we're going to start this the way we start every granny square. So we're going to do 3. So that's my first. And these are treble stitches in the UK, double crochets in the US. So what I'm going to do is I have some tutorials for the magic loop and for these stitches, and I'm going to try and remember to put those in the description box if you need them. So I've got my 3 stitches. I'm going to do 1 chain, 3 more, and then 1 chain. So I want a total of 4 segments. These are my segments, and I want 4, or clusters or shells, whatever you usually call them. So this is my 3rd one. If I go too fast for you, please just pause me and catch up. I know that we don't all crochet at the same rate, and I want to make sure I get this boring bit out the way for you. Okay, so there we are. We've got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to pull that a little tighter. Not too worried about it at the moment. But there we are. I'm going to go into the top of my stack, which, as I said before, we've got those nice 2 loops to go in. And I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm not going to do a slip stitch. I'm going to do a UK double or a US single crochet in that space. So what I've done is I've made a space, the same as I have my chain spaces. I've got the same amount of space between that cluster and this. So delving back into that where you would normally have a chain space, but we've got that. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do my first stitch, which is always my stack. Okay, so I've done my first part. I'm going to go into that side and I'm going to do my second one to get up to the height. Right, there we are. So I'm going to do 2 more UK trebles or US double crochets. So that is half of a corner. If I bring my one in, we're now on this row here, right? And as you can see, it is still a traditional granny square. So with my granny squares, I don't chain in between my segments, clusters or shells. I only chain 1 in the corner. So I'm going to do my first proper corner, and that consists of my 3 stitches, 1 chain, 3 more in the same space. That's my first full corner. This one's half. Go into my next space and I'm going to do another full corner, so no chain between. One chain in between my parts of the corner, 3 more in the same space. Okay. And then I'm going to do another full corner in this one. Just as before. And that brings me back to the start. And I have to complete this corner. So I'm going to do that by making 3. And I'm going to do what I did before, go to my top. So you've got those 2 loops, top of my stack. And I'm going to do my UK double US single in there. Okay, so now we're going to be doing this part, this row here. And as you can see, there's a few colour changes on it. So in this round, we're going to make a full corner, 1 part of the side, and then we're going to do a whole corner in the new colour, bring back the pink to make just this one segment, bring back the white to make a full corner, and then we're going to go back to the pink to finish off, and then we're going to do this one in white, and that creates the heart shape, but it also means it's a tad tricky and you can go wrong. So let's hope we don't. Right then. So we're going to start with half a corner by going into this one again and doing that stack. Okay, and then 2 UK treble crochets, US double crochets. And that'll be half of our corner. And then we're going to do one side, but for the last stitch we're going to change colour. So I'm going to just do 2 for now, and half of a third, and then I'm going to bring in my colour, which is white on this occasion. I'm just going to remove that and put it over there and bring up my white one, and I've made a slip knot. It's a bit baggy, that slip knot. Let's make it a bit smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to this at the back so that this loop here doesn't get really, really baggy. And then I'm just going to finish this stitch by pulling that new colour through. Okay, so if it does get a little baggy, just pull that down and it will kind of stop it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work over this. So I'm doing a combination of working over, that's fine, this one is the right colour, you won't see it. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to yarn over with my tail and my working yarn, and I'm going to go into my corner, but not pull up a loop with both. I'm just going to drop this white one. So now I'm working over the pink and the tail of the white. I'll bring up my loop. Now it looks like I have 4 loops on the hook, but this one is just the loop and the tail. So I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3 of those. Finish my stitch by yarning over and going through both. Now this one, as you can see, if you pull it tight, it does disappear. So if it gets a little baggy, that part, just do that. Now we're going to work over the tail and the pink by completing a full corner. Just as before, 1 chain and then 3. Okay. But we only want the corner in the white, so I'm going to, on the last stitch, I'm going to just do 2. So what we're doing this part, okay? So I'm going to drop this white now under there, behind there, and I'm going to finish that stitch in the pink. So you can give it a little tug, make sure it doesn't get too baggy. Okay, now I'm going to cut this off because I need to bring that back in a minute. I'm just going to take that down and bring this one back up again. Right, so I'm not going to work over those white tails because that's why I don't like the look of that. Okay, so I'm going to do, we're now coming back. So we've done we're here. Right, so we've got half a corner and we've just done that. So now we're going to just do this one segment in our pink, just the one. See, it's easy, I know, if you wanted to just work over those colours, but you get those quite nasty transitions. We're changing colour, so we're just going to drop that. I'm going to bring the white back. I need a little bit of yarn off of there, I think, so it's not quite so stiff. Bring the white back. Just going to make a slip knot. Nice long tail, just in case you do want to sew it in. You can just snip it off. My fingernails are too long, guys. I'm going to have to cut them. They're actually hindering me now. I keep meaning to cut them, but I can't find the clippers. Okay, so I'm holding on to that again, so it doesn't make that all baggy. And I'm going to bring my colour. Now I'm going to do that full corner again. So I'm going to work over this pink. I'm going to bring both my colours, both my tail rather, and my working yarn. And then I'm going to drop that. So I'm working over the tail and the pink. And I'm going to go through 2, oh well, 3 really, but pull that down so you can't see it. And now I'm going to complete that full corner again in this white. Apart from the last stitch, which I will change colour again. Because we only want the corner in this white. Okay, so now I'm going to drop the white and without tangling my yarns up, which is the major feat, I'm going to hold on to this so it doesn't make it baggy. I'm going to bring my colour back. Forget the tail now, you've worked over it. Just move it out of the way. That's the working yarn. I was holding that, it just dropped. So I'm going to finish my stitch with that colour. So now we've got what looks like ears. And I'm going to do my side. I'm not working over any tails now. And then I'm going to do a full corner in the pink. So really, basically, all you need to remember is that with your alternate colour, which in my case is white, all I want to do, I'm going to undo that last part in a sec. All you want to do is the corner and this middle part. So again, I'll drop this. I want to pull off a little bit of yarn because it's very tight otherwise. And I'm going to cut this because it's still attached. Okay, nice long tail in case I want to sew it. And that can go over here. I'll bring in my white again. And I'm going to make my little slip knot. Easier said than done with these nails. Oh, it went well that time. Not usually have long nails like this. They usually break by now. So I'm holding on to that with my finger so it doesn't go all baggy. And I'm going to pull that. Oh, actually, I've got to undo it first, haven't I? Silly me. I'm just going to undo that stitch and start again. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to that. Bring in my new colour. Finish that off. I'm holding that at the back so it doesn't get all baggy. It still does a little bit, but you can pull it down. So just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to work over the pink again, and I'm going to yarn over with both my tail as well as my yarn, drop the tail, work over those three, and then don't forget, if that's gone a tad baggy there, you just give it a tug, disappears. Finish my stitch in this colour, except for the last two, of course, because I'm now going to drop that white. In fact, I'm going to cut that white off and move it out the way. Bring my colour back in. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to that because it's become baggy. See, you only have to do this to get it back to normal and finish off the stitch. And then we complete the corner. Okay, so I'm doing that. I'm going to end. You can end with a chain there if you want, but I like to keep it consistent. Okay, so I'm just finishing the same way. Bringing that down. This time I'm going to cut it completely off. Don't need it anymore. So we have the start of the heart. I'm going to get rid of the colour. And now the whole round is white. Now remember I said didn't have all these tails? Well, that's because I've worked over these ones, so I'm just going to chop them off. Okay? They're gone. I've worked over these. So I'm just going to chop them off but if you wanted to sew them back through, just to make sure, you can. Now I've worked over these, but not very far. There's only been this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work over that in this round. I'm going to join my yarn at any corner, but I'm not going to join it at this one because I already have a tail to work over. So I'm going to work over it there. Okay, so as I've been doing a slip knot, I'm going to carry on and be consistent and do a slip knot there. But I don't normally join my yarn that way, but that's what I've been doing, so I will carry on. Okay, so here it is. Bring my slip knot through there. Okay, I'm going to do a chain to secure that down. Then I'm going to do a stack as usual. Don't worry if that looks a tad bulky. It doesn't matter because we'll just pull that a little bit and we'll work over the other half of the corner anyway. So again, I'm going to do half a corner and I'm going to work over this tail. On the last stitch though, as I pull up my yarn, I'm just going to put that over my hook to go through my stitch. That's brought it up here. So now I can do the same thing as before to hide it. Again, give it a little tug so it looks normal size. And if you've still got a nice big tail, you can do it again. Or if you're doing another round, you could leave it there and work over it. You know, because that will be this part of the next round. So you can leave it there, work over it if you want. But I prefer doing this because I find that it's more embedded in round all those stitches. But this is the last time that I'm going to work over it this time. I'm going to snip it off. You can leave it and sew it back through if you really, really want to be secure. Okay. I didn't work over these, did I? I forgot to show you that. Never mind. We'll leave them. what I have done in the past, just a little trick, is I will feed them through. I've done that so many times, but I'll leave that one. I've shown you how I do it. So now I'm going to work over this yarn as well in the corner. So I'm going to go into my corner. It'll only work over half because the first half won't cover it. It will start getting there now. And then I'll be working over this tail. But as it's only really had half a corner, I don't consider it enough. So what I'll do is I'll just feed it through my work, going in. I do it through the back loop there, through 2 stitches like that. Now it's in another space to be worked over, so I'll work over it again. And I can do the same thing again if I want to. Cut it off if I want, or if I feel like I need to go one more time, because this is a nice kind of way of burying it without sewing it, because you know I hate sewing in my ends. Whoops. So we're just going to do the whole round. I mean, some people might consider this is just a bit of a faff, and it's much easier to just cut or sew them in rather. So now I'm just going to give that a little tug so it's nice and tight there. A little bit more of a tug, so when I cut it, it disappears inside that 3 stitches. Now I'm going to do my corner. Well, I only forgot to do those white ones. So the centre one we have to do anyway, because it is a magic loop. If you've done your 4 chain, then you've worked over it, you can cut it off. But mine is kind of a little bit more. That was an end to see it there. We'll bury it now. Okay, we'll keep going. Go another corner, all the way around. Now with these granny square projects, some of these will have a little project at the end, so you can either just watch the granny square and then duck out, that'll be fine, or you can stay tuned and see what I do with these squares. So and then there's at the end of the year, because this is a year of granny squares, what I intend to do then is all those squares that are the right kind of square, going to make them all the same size, say a 6-inch for instance, and then I'm going to make a blanket with them all, just a big blanket. Right, so we're back at the start again. So now we have our heart, there it is, and we've got this one. I've got 3 here, but I don't like that one, so I'm going to discard it. That was just to show you. So what do I do then? I'm going to finish off my little heart. You can finish off any way you want. You don't have to do the same as me, like with that little bit in the middle. But why I like doing that is because now when I've finished, I'm in the dead centre. So if I'm starting to join these, then I'm right in the middle. So I'm a little bit annoyed with myself for not showing you, not working this over, because I would have brought it up and worked over it. So I've got to sew that one, and I've got to sew that one. I'm going to work over this one, because what I'm going to do is, this is where I'm going to show you a little project with these squares. So you can either stay with me and see this little project through, or you can just say, right, that's the square, thank you very much, I'm off. Okay, so I'm going to bring this colour in, and I'm going to join it at a corner, but not the same corner as before. So I'm just going to join it this way because it's so much easier. Okay. Rightio. So I still need to make a chain to join, and I'm going to just do 1, 2 in that corner, UK double crochets, which are single crochets in the US. So I'm going to pull that aside, and I'm going to go into my first stitch, work over this tail, and I'm just going to do a UK double or US single in every single one all the way along this side. So I've only done 2 here. There's a reason for that. It's half a corner. I know 3 is not, you know, but it does work out. I've done it so many times. So that's half a corner. So I'm going to go around this one all the way. It's working over the tail as I go. For some reason my wool genie is stuck. There we go. It's pulling out yarn now. It's spinning like a crazy thing now. Okay, so I'm going to carry on until I get to the end. So I'm going to do 3 in the corner. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1 in every single one all the way along this side, and that is a tad boring to watch, I know. So I'm going to pause the video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 in each one across. I'm going to do 3 in the corners, and I'm going to do that all the way along, and I'll catch up with you when I get back to the start. Okay, so I'm nearly there. Once I got to that corner, I started to work over the tail, the white one that was in the corner there. So I just wanted to show you that. So I'm making my way to the end of this row. So as I started, I just did 2 in that first corner. Okay, I think I've worked over enough of that. I'm going to get rid of that because it's going to get in the way. Right, that side. Okay, so I'm back at the corner. I'm going to do my 3rd stitch for the corner, and then I'm just going to slip stitch into the first one, so it does bring you straight back to the middle again. Okay, so now I'm going to leave a tail and chop it, because I need to do the same thing to the other one. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Once I've completed the border on this one, I will come back to you. Okay, so I got to the end. Now I'm going to leave a really, really long tail because I'm going to sew these together. And I would normally maybe crochet them together, but I'm going to sew them together. So this time I'm going to end off leaving this lovely big long tail. Because I didn't, if I crochet them together, they're going to be very bulky. But the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of all these tails. So the centre one, it needs to be, this horrible needle, isn't it? It's the only one I could find. You think, I have a craft shop, you know, and yeah. So you would think that I could find all of my equipment quite easily, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? No, that would be quite a reasonable assumption. But I lose them just like everybody else. Okay, so now I've made a little knot. I'm going to go round. Not going to be easy. Getting this in there, it's quite tight. It's not going to. You don't have to be so, unless you're making a blanket or a cushion or something like that. You don't have to be really, what's the word I'm looking for? Neat, that's the word, with this, because it's going to be hidden on the inside, because I'm going to make a little gift bag, especially if you're, as it's hearts on it. It's a great little gift bag to give for Mother's Day. I'm going to leave those until I've found my other, but I just wanted to show you that centre one because you need to secure it. So I secured it with a little knot and then sewed it in round and round and round. So this one I'm going to ignore for now because this is not the greatest needle. Oh, I don't know where I've put it, you know. But at least it's easy to see, and we're going to go through quite a few stitches. So what we want is them the right way round and back to back. So as you can see, we have it's not really the corner that I wanted to go on, so I'm gonna have to go the wrong way. So they're both facing the right way out, and what we're going to do is we're going to go through. See, we're right in the center. We're going to go through the corresponding stitch on the other one. There we go. Okay, so I want to leave a little bit of a ridge, so I'm not going to do this in an invisible way. I'm just going to go back and forth, because I think if I did a slip stitch, it's going to make too much of a fat ridge. That's the end. We're going to ignore that. And I didn't want that, but I wanted a nice ridge. So I find sometimes when you do sewing, it's still a ridge, but it's not bulky. Not like if you were doing a slip stitch, because you've got extra stitches there that are causing that to be a bit more bulky. So we're just going to go all the way around this project, but leaving the top. So we're going to go around this edge, and we're just going to sew it back and forth all the way across there, and then all the way up, and we're going to stop when we get to here. And it's going to leave this quite a cute little kind of ridged top, or edge to it, should I say. Just going back and forth. With the same colour yarn, you're not going to see it. And incidentally, this is how I join my cushion at the bottom. Not what I normally do with a cushion is I'll do a slip stitch join all the way around, and then leaving the bottom so I can insert my cushion, and then I'll sew it like this, but I'll leave a little bit that I can see where it is, so that if I kind of pull it apart, I can see the stitches, and then I can just snip that part and take it out completely, take my cushion out so that I can wash it, wash the cover, and then I can just sew it back again when I put it back on. That way I don't need to put a zip in and buttons and all that stuff. Prefer just to sew it in, but you can leave it, or you can even use a slight shade lighter. Won't really notice at all. So I'm just going back and forth, sewing that together, and it is leaving a ridge, but it's not really altering the appearance, which I think a slip stitch join would do. So this is going to be a bit boring watching me do this, so I'm going to carry on. I'm going to go around this corner. I'm going to go all the way along here, around that corner. I'm going to stop when I get there. So I'm going to pause it then, and I'll meet you when I get to this point here. Okay, so here I am. I'm all the way. And so if I was to open this, you could see it's a little open. So I'm going to just do an extra kind of stitch to secure that there. Okay. And I don't really want it to be too tight. Pulled a little tight there, so I'm going to go inside here. I need to don't go through the same part or it will undo it. Just going to take that on the inside. Okay. I'm just going to make sure that that is kind of closed. Don't want it to gape. Let's go over it a few times. So how I did that knot before was it's a similar way. Just go through the loop that you've made, pull it tight. Oops, not knock the camera at the same time. So now I'm just going to trace this back down to make sure that didn't come through. No, it didn't. And bury this in my work. Nope, didn't come through. That's fine. Just going to bring that. It's a big fat end. That's the trouble. I give these away, these particular ones, when I have orders in my shop. I usually just put little freebies in. They're okay for a little standby, but they're not the best, obviously. And I've got so many that are really good. What have I done with them? Okay, so I'm going to chop that off, move it aside. I will take care of the other ends later. So I've already done two sides. So now I've got to secure it and go down. I'm going to go down this side because I want the top end to look good. So I'm going to go back down that side and secure that. How I managed to do that, I'll never know. But unless we just want to make a project, I think Okay, see, we all make mistakes, don't we? Yes, we do. Okay, so I'm going to start at this end so my top is nice and tight and secure, and I'm going to go down here and finish off just the same way as I did there, and I'll come back to you. Okay, mistake over. I like to leave them in just to show that we all do it. Okay, so now I've got my little bag, and this is going to be perfect for a little gift bag. And if you think about the different types of square you could put on, different types of motifs and things like that, if you made this slightly bigger, well, you didn't really have to make it bigger, but you could fill it with mini eggs, especially if we could find a design that was kind of Easterish. Okay, so I'm going to join it at the corner. I'm going to work over the tails. You know, those tails that I just created by mistake. It's fine. Almost as if I left them there on purpose, isn't it? Don't you think? No. I hear you say. Okay, so I'm just going to join this. Oops, helps bring the yarn with you. I don't like having two tails to work over, but my boo-boo. So there you are. Okay, so I've joined it at the corner. I'm going to work over the pink tail and the white tail. I'm going to try and get in there. That's tight stitch, but I'm going to get in through the two loops. Maybe not. Should I just do the one? It might look nice to have a little ridge. I think it might. I'm going to do that. Change of plan. Go through the one loop. Okay, we're attached. And I'm going to just do the very first row. I'm going to just do a row of UK doubles or US singles. Work over these tails to bury them. But I'm going to go in the back loop only of my top stitch. So it does leave a little tiny ridge. It does look baggy at first, but it will be fine. Let's just tighten those tails that I'm working over. Bury those nicely. I'll cut it off in a minute. It keeps trying to go through the hook. Go away. There we are. Okay, I'm going to cut them off now. This is just a little bag. Okay. Yep. From a side. They never happened. There we are. Okay, so just all the way around the top. Taking care, not to split the yarn, taking care when you get to the join that you are consistent with the spacing of your stitches. What do I mean? Well, we're getting there, so let's have a look. So I've got one stitch here, and then I have one stitch here. So then I need to find corresponding stitch over here. Again, it's going to be tight because it's the one where I joined. Hook it. There we go. I nearly hooked it. Get in. Even the fingernails are not helping here because I'm on camera. It's not a very pointy hook for you will get in. Oh no, I won't, it says. Well, oh yes you will. I say. Hang on, don't want to make that too baggy, do we? Get that right. And then we just carry on. Not being dictated to by a stitch? No way, Jose. So we're going to work over this tail, which keeps, again, trying to pop through. So we just make sure that we give it a little tug now and then to keep it nice and taut. One more and I'll cut it off. There we go. Give it a snip. I always work over them as much as I can. Right, so we're nearly back at the start. And what I'm going to do in the next round is create a little area to put a tie. Okay? And a little border. We don't want it to be too big, but we want it to look kind of cute. So we're nearly back. There we are, the last one. I need to find my first. I'm just going to slip stitch into the first one. So there we are, we're back at the start. And that's what it's looking like now. So I'm going to create, like I say, a little way of weaving in. Let's get some yarn out. And I'm going to do that by making my next round. I'm going to do a chain and I'm going to pull it right low. Thought someone was coming in then. Pull it low so that it doesn't count. And in that first stitch, I'm going to do a half treble, which you call a half double across the pond. And I'm going to do one of those in each stitch. Now, that will create a nice taller stitch for me to put in a tie. Sometimes I'll do a stitch and then a chain and miss one, and then but I've found that this works just nicer. You don't get the gaps. But if it's quite a bulky yarn and a bulky project, then doing this sometimes works better. So you've got this gap to threadle it through, not fiddle it through, but threadle. But when it's DK or even an Aran yarn, which is a 4-weight across the pond, it's not that bulky, so it's fine. So we're just going to go one in every stitch. We're not doing back loops or anything like that now, just one all the way around. I should have paused it, shouldn't I? It's a bit boring. Shall I pause it? Yeah, I've still got a way to go. So I'm just going to pause it then, and I'll catch up with you when I get back to the start again. Okay, so I've made it all the way around. My last stitch there. Just going to join it with the slip stitch, because remember, my first stitch was a proper stitch. Okay, so now it's looking like this. I'm going to do one more row. So what I'm going to do is one more row, but I'm going to do as a picot stitch rather than just an end off. So I want it to have a nice little frill. So I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the first chain, and I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those. I'm going to skip one, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and that makes this little picot. I'm going to do that again. Chain 3 into the first one, yarn over and pull up a loop because I've got 2, yarn over and pull through both of those, skip one, and then go in the next one and do a slip stitch. I'm going to do that all the way around. So chain 3 into the first chain, pull up my loop, pull through both of them, skip one, and slip stitch into the next one. So when you're going round, sometimes you get round and you don't have enough. It doesn't work out, your stitches. And if that's the case, you can easily just do this. You can easily just, if you kind of skip an extra one in a space every now and then, I can make it a little bigger, a little tighter. It doesn't look too bad. So you can hide it if you're creative. Try and do it at a corner, because in the next round I'm going to show you how to make the tie, and it will pull it tight. So all of that will just look like a frill in any case. But that's how, if it were me and I ended up with one extra stitch, that's how I'd work it. If it was quite a big kind of bolt, like a stitch that was wider, I would treat it and I'd do another picot. But it's just basically trying to keep it consistent looking. Okay, so I'm going to pause it then. I'm going to go all the way around doing these picots. I'll catch up with you when I get back to here, and you never know, it might not work out. Let's see. Okay. I've got back to the start, and look at that, it worked out. So if it didn't, I would just do what I said, and I would have an extra one or one too few right here at the end. So I'm going to do a slip stitch, an end. And I will sew that in so it will look perfect. Okay, so now we have this little crown on top. And what I'm going to do now is make a tie. So how I usually do a tie, I have shown it once on my channel. I do a chain, but don't need a real long tail for this one either, because I'll just cut it off. Right, so I'm going to make it tight as possible, okay? And what I do is I do a chain and I pull it really low. Not really going to go low, this one. Why are you not going to go low? There we are. So pull a chain down, do a chain, pull it down. First one didn't work. Maybe it was the way I did it. Okay, we'll start again. There we go. It worked that time. Do a chain, pull it down really low. Chain, pull it down. And how we do that, we tug on this working yarn. So it's making a bit of an I cord. You see that chain is so... Where's my camera going? Why is it doing that? Shall I start again? I think I should, because I don't know where you went. Okay, so I'm going to do my slip knot. I'm pulling it down, do a chain and pulling it right down. Pull it right down. Okay, do a chain, pull it right down. Do a chain, pull it right down. And I'm going to do that until I get a tie. You see that little tiny, the way it works out, it's really hard to show you, but it's like the minutest of plaits. So what I have done in the past as well is I've made a long one of these and then I've made a chain with it. So it's really like a cord, but it's so much more like a bootlace. The normal chain is just very loose, and I'm not keen on a normal chain. But of course, this will take quite a while to make one. Okay, and there's no way of kind of really knowing. Basically, I think you just want one twice or 3 times as long as your space. But that's how I normally make my cords. I'm not going to do that today because it's going to take forever for you guys, and that's just annoying, isn't it? So when I do a cord, normally I will just do sort of around it, but twice around it. That's how I kind of normally judge. But we'll just do a normal chain because it will take forever to get that one done. But if you want that effect, see what I mean? Chain is okay, but it's not really that nice, is it? But if you kind of pull it down really tight, it becomes more of a lace, like a bootlace type thing. And that's how I usually do cords when I make baby mittens or booties or something, because it's nicer. And what I do with the end is I just cut it off. Usually doesn't come undone at all, so I just do that, and that's how it's never come undone yet. So just keep going. There's no actual set length. So yeah, let's have a look. So now at the moment we probably, I don't know if that would be just a little too short. You just have to judge it really. If you imagine it, I think that's about right now. So I'm going to cut that off, pull it through, and I'm not going to cut it off yet because I want to bring in my needle because it's easier to weave it in with that. Okay, so let's move all this out of the way. Now we want to get to, I'm going to obviously tie these in. I want to get to kind of the middle, so we look up here and it's about there. So I'm going to hopefully go either side of this, but I'm just going to go in and out between my half treble crochets, and that way you still get that effect without the hole, but See, it's going to look nicer, I think, to leave. Hope I've done it long enough. If not, you can always make another one. Just judge it, really. It's all you can do. But it is just a simple little tie, so just pull it in and out. But by making it in the contrasting colour, I think it looks quite cute. It's amazing how what looks really long before you start threading it, it's not so much once you've once you've done it, it kind of works up a bit. How does that work? That goes in there and out there. No, it's because it's a fat one. There we go. I'll do it that way. Simpler. Okay, there we go. Oh no, nearly had it. Okay, so now I can get rid of that end. Pull it as tight as possible so it's really tight. And just snip it off. Okay, and then we have a little tie which we can pull it tighter and just do a little bow. There we are. There it is. How cute is that? So if you wanted to, you could make this bit longer. I didn't want to make it longer, which is quite cute as it is, but if you wanted to, you could do another row of UK double crochets or US singles if you wanted to have that a little bit looser. Don't have to pull it quite so tight. But yeah, that's my little bag. Isn't that cute? Super cute. There we go. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this part 1 of a year of granny squares. There'll be lots more projects coming. But yeah, I think that'll be nice. If you can make, say, for instance, like Mother's Day presents or teacher presents. It's moving again. Why are we moving? This camera's having a bit of a funny 5 minutes. But yeah, little presents or little bags to put a little present in, or Easter eggs for a friend, or, you know, like kids' friends and stuff like that. I know a little girl's probably going to want this. So, yeah, I'll probably have to make another one as well. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and this is another square tutorial. So this one is the circle into a square. Now I've done a variety of these in different ways, but this one I have chosen for this DK weight yarn, and I've gone for very Christmas colours this time around. So it's made, as I said, with DK, but you can use any yarn as long as you use the right corresponding crochet hook. You can up that to whatever you want it to be. I've chosen to do a magic ring, but you can start with a chain 4 if you wish, but my magic ring is very, very simple. Okay, so I've chosen green and white. I've got a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, scissors and darning needle, because you will have a few ends which you can either work over or just sew in. There's not that many colours, so it's fine. Just a little note that if this is part of my year of granny squares, the left-handed version will start at the end of the right-handed version, and there'll be timestamps in the description box for that left-handed one, but I know that many of you like to watch both for me. If this is part of a compilation, obviously the right-handed version and the left-handed will be separate compilation videos. Okay, so let's clear this away and we'll get started. Okay, so to start this square then, I'm going to use a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. I've got my yarn and I'm going to make a magic loop or a magic ring, magic circle. I've heard them called all of that. And if you don't like them, I know some people like to chain 4, make it into a ring and work over the tail to pull that tight. But I'll show you my method. It is the simplest you'll ever see. And it is just to simply make a loop. You can pull it through with your finger, But what I like to do is insert my hook, grab that yarn, pull that through and make one chain. So I've left an ultra long tail there. We'll do it one more time. I want to leave a long tail, but not one that big. So I make a loop, insert my hook, bring the yarn through and do one chain. Nice and simple. Okay, so in this ring, I need a total of 12 UK treble crochets. That's double crochets in the US. So if I say UK treble and you work in American terms, you'll know that I mean a double crochet. But the first one that I'm going to do is going to be the stacked double crochet UK, which is a stacked single crochet. And to do that, I'm going to insert my hook, working over the tail and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through both of them. And in this one leg at the side, I'm going to insert, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both of them. So if you look at the side of it, it looks like two chains. And that's got me up to the height of a UK treble crochet. So now I want another 11 stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that ring, pull up my loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and that is a UK treble crochet. So now I have 3. I want a total of 12. So I'm going to pause the video and I will catch up with you once I have all my stitches. Okay, so I have my 12, just going to pull that tight, well, not too tight, but close it up a little bit. And now this V at the top here is the top of my stack. I'm just going to insert my hook and close that up with a slip stitch. Okay, so in that same stitch, I'm going to do another of those stack stitch. I won't call them by their whole name, just call it the stack from now on. Okay, so that's my first stitch. I'm going to place another UK treble in the same stitch. So we're going to increase in every single stitch around. So we're going to place 2 in every single space, every single stitch. So where we had 12, at the end of this round, we will have 24. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video then, and I want you to place 2 in every single stitch, and I'll catch up with you once I get back to the start again. There we are, I've come all the way back to the start. I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that stack stitch again. Gives you the lovely 2 loops to go into, no confusion. Okay, so this time we are going to do one more round with increases, and we're going to increase in every other stitch. So I'm going to go in and do my stack in the same stitch again. So that is the equivalent of 1 stitch. And in the next one, I'm going to place an increase by doing 2. In the next stitch, just 1. In the next, 2. So I'm going to repeat that all the way around, doing 1 in the next. My yarn won't move, there we are. And 2 in the next one. So I'm going to go all the way around. At the end of this round, I'll have 36 stitches because each of our rounds has increased by 12, the number that we started with. And when I get back to the start again, when I get back, I'm going to end on an increase because I started with a single one. Okay, so I shall pause the video and catch up with you, and once we get back to the start again. Okay, so I'm all the way around, and again I'm going to go into the top of that stack stitch and join my ring, and this time I'm going to do a chain and I'm going to pull it low. I'm going to end off with a nice long tail because that coloured part is over. Okay, so the beauty of doing the stack is not only that you just get the 2 loops at the top to go into, but it's a nice wide stitch and you can't really see where the join is, which is really great, you know. Anyway, I'm going to bring in my next colour, which is white. So normally speaking, I would work over tails, I would work yarn in, but I'm not going to do that with this. We don't have too many tails to worry about, and I don't want it to get confusing. So I'm just going to join in the next stitch to where I've ended off. I'm going to leave a nice long tail to sew that in. And my very first stitch is going to be my stack again, okay? So you can join your yarn however you want. You don't have to do it the way I do. And I'm going to place another UK treble in the same space. Now, although this is the same yarn, it is slightly thicker, which is a bit annoying, but that happens. Okay, so this represents half of a corner for me. I'm not going to complete the other half of the corner just yet. I'm just going to leave it there. And in the next 2 stitches, I'm going to do a half treble crochet, which is a half double in the US. So we've got our 3 loops and we pull through all 3 of them. Just the same as we did before, like yarn over and go in, pull up the loop, but we're going to go through all 3. I'm working over this tail because it's just easy. And now I'm going to place in the next 3 stitches a UK double crochet, which is a single crochet in the US. So that's 1, 2, 3. So what we're doing is we're making it nice and flat. We're turning this into the square. So just as I made 2 half trebles there, I'm going to place in my next 2 stitches a half treble. Okay, so now we're at the corner, and in the first of our the first part of our corner is in the next stitch, and I'm going to place 2 UK treble crochets in that stitch, and I'm going to chain 1, and in the next stitch I'm going to complete that and make 2 more UK treble crochets. So our corner is made over 2 stitches because they are quite small stitches. We don't want to make them too baggy. Okay, I'm going to drop that tail now, and just as I did here, I'm going to mirror this whole side. So we're going to do 2 half treble crochets in the next stitches, and then 3 UK double crochets, and then 2 half treble crochets, and we're back at a corner again. So that is 2 UK treble crochets in the next stitch, 1 chain, and 2 UK treble crochets in the next stitch. Okay, so now we're back to mirroring our side. Sorry, a postman was very noisy outside. So I want you to do the same as you've done along these 2 sides. 2 half trebles, 3 double crochets, 2 half trebles, and then we're back at the next 2 stitches are our corner. Okay, so I shall pause this then, and I'll catch up with you once I get back to here, and we'll finish off this corner together. Okay, so I've made it all the way back. Get that tail out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to complete. It's going to get hard to get in there, isn't it? Because it's tight. That's not really in. So what if that ever happens and you want to get in, excuse me, just stretch in for my darning needle, and all we have to do is insert this darning needle into that stitch and give it a little wiggle and then make it a little bit more inviting to our hook. Okay, maybe, we'll see. Can I now get in? Is it going to let me? Yes, it is. So I'm going to place my 2, which, let me get 1 in. Yep, there we go. 2 UK treble crochets in that space. Okay, so that will get hidden. That will be fine. So now I'm at the corner, and I don't want to chain because I'm in the center of my corner. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to single crochet US, double crochet UK into the top of the stack. So I'm going to insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through. So now I've got the same space as I would have, and I'm in the dead center of it. So I'm going to go back in to that space that I've just created and do my stack. But you can see this is a very long kind of stitch. I don't like that. So I'm going to pull through one and I'm going to pull it down so you can barely see it. Okay, and now I'm going to yarn over, pull through two, go into that leg just the same, and complete my stack. It's just because that long stitch didn't look good. So I'm going to place another one in my corner. So again, that is half of the corner. And then I'm going to place one UK double crochet in every, UK treble crochet in every stitch around. I wish we had the same names for our stitches, because don't you find it get confusing when you have to convert? So I'm going to place a treble in every single stitch all the way along my side until I get to the next corner. So I'm planning on making something with this, this square, making something that with the whole, or like a project, but it's going to take some time, so it will appear at some point, but not necessarily at the same time as this square does. So here we are, we're back at the corner, and we're going to place a full corner in there. So we're going to place 2 UK treble crochets, chain 1 and 2 more in the same corner space. And now we're going to, don't forget to go in the first one, otherwise our stitch count will be off when we come to join these squares, and we don't want that. 1 UK treble in all the stitches, again along the side. So we'll get to the next corner and we'll stop and have a look, because while I'm doing this it does look puckered, but you'll see it's nice and flat once I stop. Okay, nearly there. It's nice and easy, this particular square. I really like it, and there's so much that you can do with it. Okay, in fact I might do something with it, you never know. Okay, so there we are. You can see it's laying nice and flat. We've got a perfect circle and we've got a nice squared off square. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video then. I'm going to do 1 UK treble crochet in all of these stitches along the side. I'm going to do a corner in this chain space, and then I'm going to make sure I go into my first stitch and go all the way along. I'll catch up with you once we get back to this corner and we'll sort of finish that corner off together. Okay, so I'm all the way back to the start again, and I just need to put 2 more in this corner, and I can go around and do another row, or I can leave it with just 2 around this border. I mean, it's quite a large circle, so we could do another round exactly the same as this one. So if this is your last round, chain 1 and slip stitch into the top of the stack, or you can either do that, you can either slip stitch, or you can do the invisible join, which I'll show you. I'm going to cut the tail and pull that through. Where's that darning needle? It's a big one, but at least I shouldn't have any trouble threading it. She laughed, because I don't have any thumbnails. Normally I do, but I cut them off. Okay, so there is my chain, which is present in every corner. So I'm going to find the top of my stack. These are the 2 loops. I'm going to go from back to front, and then I'm going to go into the next. So this is the bridge that we've just made. I'm going to go into the next one, and I'm going to go through, and I'm going to aim down as well as going in. I'm aiming down, and now we just want to make that loop there, this one we've just created, the same size as all the others. Once we're satisfied, I'm going to hold on to that so it doesn't get any bigger, and I'm just going to secure this. So I'm going to do that by making a stitch, which, you know, I've got too long a tail here. and then I'm going to pull it, and you can see there's my loop that I've got, and I'm going to, once I've got a small one, I'm going to go back through that loop, pull it tight. So now that is knotted, and so my chain will stay that size. Okay, and now I can bury this tail in these stitches at the corner. Just turn it, Tracy, it's so much easier than trying to wiggle it backwards. Silly woman. Okay, so I'm going to go through there, and then I'm going to come back the other way. I'm going to split that particular stitch so the yarn doesn't just go straight back through again. And I'm going to go back through my corner stitches. Will come out in the middle of it. Okay, so now I can cut that off. And all I have to do now is pull my magic circle tight and do the same thing. Easier said than done without the thumbnails. Please go in easy. Aha! It did it. Right, so as you can see, it's coming out of this particular stitch. So we're going to go back and just make our loop in that little, where is it? There. In our stitch. It's getting in its own way. And then, once it's a small loop, go back through that loop. Don't let it pull out though. And give it a tug. Now it is a knot. We can then bury this. I didn't pull it as tight as I should have, but never mind. It doesn't matter if there's a small hole there. You can do yours nice and tight. I think it came a little loose as I was fiddling with it. Okay, so that's one. That's two. I just have to sew this one in and we're done. So there we go. Let's do that, shall we? So yeah, this has got quite a lot of possibilities. A nice little smiley face on it. Make it look quite cute. And this one can just get buried along here. And I'll go back along the other way as well. Just to incorporate that. I need to split that stitch so that it will stay in there. I'll come out there. Okay, that's that. I just need to snip that off. If you give it a little tug, it disappears inside. And there's our square. And wouldn't that be lovely just to make a lot of Christmas colours, like red ones and green ones? That's cool. Okay. Alternatively, you can turn it into like a little smiley face. Quite easy with a little bit of stitching. Okay. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye for now. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks, and this is another in my year of granny squares, and this one is a diamond into a square. And for this one I have carried the yarn, and I know that some of you might not like that, so you can end off and have lots more ends, but you can see little telltale signs through there that I've carried the yarn. And if you're not really, if you're a bit of a purist and you don't like to see the odd little strand where it's been carried, then by all means just end off and have a few more ends to sew in. So this tutorial will be a right-handed and a left-handed tutorial. So the right-handed will be the first one, and then as that one finishes, the left-handed tutorial will start. I will put in the description box a timestamp where you can find the left-handed tutorial, although I know some of you like to watch both for me for the viewing hours, so that's cool, but it'll be there just in case. So the one I'm going to show you now is carrying the yarn, but obviously if you want you can end off each colour and start a new colour, and sort of don't carry it. Okay, so for this tutorial then I've used ice yarn In the centre it is Ione Picasso rainbow colours, but you can just use 2 colours, no problem at all, depending on your preference and what you're doing with your squares. So I'm going to use those yarns this time around as well, because they're already loaded onto my Wool Genie and it's easy to get started. But you can use these, as I said, any colours you want, and to make a nice project with different geometrical shapes. So while I'm going to pause the video then and clear all this out the way and get ready to start, I just want to, if you could, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you watch me on TikTok at all, don't forget to follow. Okay, so I'm just going to clear this away and I'll come back and we'll get started. Okay, so I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook, and I'm going to start with just a slip knot, which you can make any way that you normally do. And I'm going to chain 4 for the centre of this one, because it's to all intents and purposes a normal granny square. If you want to make the magic ring and close that centre, then you can, but I think a nice little hole looks fine on this because it is a granny square with those holes, so it's just in keeping. Now in the centre, you can just about see it there. I'm going to insert my hook and pull up a loop, and I've got 2 on my hook, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those. And in this vertical line here, I'm just going to insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both of those. And that is how I do my turning chain these days, but of course you don't have to do that. If you want to chain 2, then you can. I'm going to yarn over, go back into the centre of the ring, pull up my loop and make a UK treble crochet. Now that is a double crochet in the US, and that you do by yarning over and pulling through 2, yarning over and pulling through 2. So if I say UK treble crochet, if I just say treble crochet, you'll know. If you follow US terms, that will be a double. Okay, so I've got 2, my first one being my stacking stitch there, and then 1 more. I'm going to put 1 more in that ring, and then I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to place 3 more UK treble crochets in this ring, working into the centre of the ring, and I'm going to work over my tail because I hate sewing them in. Okay, so there's my third, chain 1, and we're starting this just as we would any traditional granny square. So we're placing 3 more. I love this yarn, by the way. I absolutely love it. It's so pretty. It doesn't sort of run too well on the yarn on the Wool Genie, so I might get stuck here and there. So I've got 1, 2, 3 segments so far. I've got my chain 1, and I'm going to complete my 4th cluster of 3. Okay, so I want my square, my diamond as well, to be seamless. So now I'm going to, rather than do a chain and slip stitch here, I'm going to join this with a UK double crochet, which is a single crochet in the US. So I'm going to go into the top of the stitch, yarn over and pull up my loop, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those, and it brings me right into the center between these 2 pairs here, this pair, not 2 pairs, this pair of clusters, and it gives me the same space as in between all the others. Now working into the space I've just created, I'm going to do that stack again. So I'm going to insert my hook and pull up my loop, yarn over and pull through both in this vertical bar, insert my hook without splitting that yarn, pull up my loop and go through both of those. So I'm going to do 2 more, which will be half a corner. So for this next round, it is exactly the same as any other granny square. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a corner in this one here. So I'm going to place a cluster of 3, and I'm chaining 1 and placing another cluster of 3 in that same space. that is a full corner, and I'm going to place another full corner in the next space. I think I'm a little bit warm and my hook is starting to catch sticky, like squeaking. So what I'm going to do then, now I've done 2 corners, I'm going to place a third one in between these 2 clusters here. So that's 3 UK trebles, 1 chain, and 3 more. Once I've going to pause the video then, and once I've done that, I'll come back to you and it'll give me opportunity to wipe my hook so it doesn't squeak anymore. So I will catch up with you once I've done the next corner. Okay, so I've done that. Now I've got to finish this one, so I'm going to place 3 more in this space here. Now I need to join it, but don't completely go ahead of me, because I'm going to insert my hook in the top 2 loops of my stack and pull up my loop, but I'm going to finish that stitch in my white colour. Now normally speaking, I don't end my yarn work that way on a corner. I would just end off, but that's if you want to end off without carrying your yarn, then by all means do that, but I'm going to carry it. So now in that space between my 2 clusters, I'm going to do the same with the stack to get up to the height of a UK treble crochet. Now this yarn is slightly thicker, although it's a DK weight, and the ice yarn is classed as an Aran. The white is actually thicker. So I'm just going to pull on my ends to get that hidden. This one needs pulling a little more. Okay, so now I'm going to work over the tail and my the yarn that I was working with before. And I'm going to place my 2 UK treble crochets in there, just as I did before, but I'm going to stop halfway through the last one. I'm going to drop the white. And I'm going to bring the white over there actually. And I'm going to bring back, the tail is going to get in the way. I'm going to bring back this colour, and holding that so it doesn't become baggy, I'm going to finish that stitch with the new colour. And working over the yarn, I'm going to place my next 3. So this is the side. I can actually drop that tail. The tail's no, don't need to carry everything. So I'm just going to carry that yarn and I'm going to work over it and place 3 in that space. So when you look at it, you might think, I'm going to finish, I'll do this bit first and then I'll talk about what it looks like. So I'm going to go halfway through that one, drop this yarn now, and bring back my white. Just make sure that doesn't become baggy. So I finished my white stitch here with this colour. Now I've finished my coloured yarn with the white. So you might think this does not look very neat, but we'll work over that in the next round, so that really doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm going to carry this yarn, and I'm going to do my corner in white. But on my very last stitch of that corner, I'm going to change colour again. So I'm working over that coloured yarn as I go. It's there. So I'm going to go through 2, and I'm going to drop this white and bring back this colour. Now I'm going to work over the white and just make sure that that doesn't become too baggy. And I'm going to do this part with the colour. I think the actual carrying the yarn works quite well in some ways. I find it, I thought it was going to be a lot worse to carry than it has been. So now I'm going to finish off in that one. I'm going to pull this a little so that stitch doesn't become baggy, and I'm going to do my corner in the white. And you've probably guessed, on the very last stitch I'm going to change the colour back again, but we're keeping the stitches exactly the same. 1 chain at my corners, Excuse me. Okay, so now I'm going to drop the white, bring this colour back. I'm going to hang on to that white there so it doesn't become baggy. So we don't want a baggy stitch. And now we're going to work over the white. And so what we're doing, basically, we're making white corners and coloured sides. Okay, so again, I'm going to drop the colour now, bring the white back, make sure that doesn't get baggy, and work over the colour. By not chaining too much, like between, some people chain here, and too much in the corners, and by doing that you keep those stitches nice and tight, and it's easier, I think, to change the colour and work over the yarn. Okay, so because this is trickier, I guess, I've stayed with you all the way round. Okay, so this is my last colour change. I'm just going to pull that white down a bit so it doesn't baggy. And we're going to finish our very last side with our colours. And now I'm going to bring my white back and finish that. Okay, so now you can, we're finished with the colour, you can just cut that, leave a nice long tail for sewing in, and take that out the way. Okay, I'm going to drop the tail because we don't need to work over it. We want to secure it properly, but I don't want it to become baggy, so I'm going to give it a little pull. Easier said than done. There we go. Now I'm going to finish my corner with the white. And we've made this very cute little diamond. So I'm going, rather than just yarning over, I'm going to now do my UK double crochet into the top of my stack there at the corner, just as before. Okay, so now this round is very straightforward. We're just going to do a whole round, excuse me, a whole round purely in white, and that will again help to hide some of those work over the colours. So I'm going to do my stacked stitch to get over the height of a UK treble, and I'm going to place 2 in the corner, and then between our sides I'm going to make sure if I've got yarn to work over, I'm going to catch it. That was just working over the tail. So now I'm going to do the same here. Just 3. You just see the odd little bit of colour, but it's really not that much, and it doesn't bother me, and I'm quite perfectionist in that sort of thing, but I find this is fine for me. It doesn't jar my head, put it that way. I can work with it. Otherwise I would be just stopping and changing colour as I go. So okay, in the sides again, we're going to place our 3. And in the other one. And then the corner, same as before. Okay, so, oops, didn't pull it through. I'm going to pause the video then, because I think you might get a little bored watching me go all the way around, and it's exactly the same. We're going to finish this corner. We're going to place 1 either side of our sides as usual, make a full corner, 1 in there, 1 in there. I'll pause the video and come back to you when we get back to this corner. Okay, so I'm back at my corner again, and I just need to complete the other half. Just make a little space if it doesn't quite fit. I'm going to chain one this time, and I'm going to slip stitch into my top stitch. And the reason I do that is because this is now kind of the end of my granny, and I'm going to go over those stitches anyway, so I don't need to finish in the dead center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my color again to any of my corners, so this one here, and I'm going to just join it with a slip stitch. You join any way you want to, but that's how I do mine. And I'm going to place one UK double crochet in that corner, and then I'm going to do one UK double crochet in every single stitch all the way along, working over that tail all the way along till I get to the next corner. And I'm going to do that corner in a different way to how I normally would. I've experimented with it and it looks a little nicer doing it this way. So I'll stay with you because we're nearly there. Okay, so I'm at the corner, work over the tail, not that tail, this tail. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to place one UK double crochet, one chain, and one more UK double crochet in the corner. Now I'm going to work over this white tail and go and place one in every single stitch, if I can get it to come through, all the way along. Just work over that white tail as I go, because as you well know by now, if I can not sew them in, I will take that opportunity. Okay, all the way along. It's a nice small square, so I'll stay with you because I'm almost at the end. I love the way this yarn changes colour. It's just so pretty. I wanted to make something with it for ages, so I've got a feeling that I will continue with it. So I'm going to drop that and cut it off because it will just make my corner ugly. I'm going to place one chain and one more in that corner. I think it's making the corners actually stay in the corner. You know, sometimes when you place three in a corner, it can make it look like it's gone around the corner and it's somewhere here, your corner. So how I get over that is I place 2 and 2. I have actually made a video called Make Better Corners, and I'll put a link at the end of this when the videos all come in. I'll put a link for that, or at the very end I'll put a link at the top, and you can go to it if you want. Okay, so now I'm just going to place one in every stitch along the side, and I'll pause the video then, and I'm going to do my corner by placing one chain and another in the corner. I'm going to make my way all the way along this side, and I will catch up with you once I get back to the start again. Okay, so here I am back at the corner. I'm going to place my one remaining stitch in the corner. I'm going to chain one, and what I do now is I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to take my stitch out, and I want to grab this one. This is not gonna, it's not gonna like me. It never does on camera. Usually, hang on, pays to have a thumbnail. I want this one because it's the medium sized one and it is easier. So in my first stitch, I'm going to go back through the top 2 loops, and then I'm going to go into the back loop only. This is the chain I just made. And I'm going to adjust the tension to make it identical to the others. And now I'm going to go to the back, keeping my thumb on that, and I'm going to go down. Take that. It's hard to actually sometimes work with this. It's kind of got an unusual texture. So I just need to make my... Okay, where's my end? There it is. So now I've got my loop. I'm going to go through that loop. I'm going to pull that tight. Now I'm just going to bury this tail into this corner, which, as I say, sometimes it's not that easy with this yarn. Other times it's not so bad, like that time. Okay, so I've buried that. I'm going to go back the other way, making sure it's only visible on the back side of the work. Don't want any of those little tufty bits of end coming through. Okay, there we are. Pull that through there, and I'm going to just give this a little tug and then snip it, and then when you pull that end disappears inside and you won't see it. I've got other ends to secure. That one can just get snipped off. So basically that one can get snipped off. I worked over that first one, so that's not one I have to secure, but these ones I will. That's just where I worked over the end, so that can go. These two I will secure because they were where I dropped the yarn. But as you can see on the reverse of it, you will see where you have carried yarn with you. It's not badly visible on the top. I like it, it's fine. And if you had done just one colour, for instance, where you've carried it, you won't see that. So if you had maybe just done a bright pink or whatever, then all of that would be the same and you wouldn't really have seen it. But you cannot get away with seeing them there. But it doesn't really bother me. My eyes don't get drawn to it. But I love this square. I think it's very cute. I'd like to do something with them. So I'm going to put my thinking cap on and come up with a little project now, because I really, really love this yarn and want to do something with it. Okay, so that's my granny square this time around. Watch out in case I do come up with a project for that. Yeah, we'll do it separately. I've got a couple that are on the go from my previous granny squares, which will be popping up soon. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye for now. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and this is my square this week. I am doing the half and half, as I like to call it. Yeah, I kind of like it, and it would benefit, I think, from a little bit of blocking if you were worried about it being not quite as straight as it should be. I don't know why it does that, but you could either just make the corners like bigger stitches, block it, or just by the time you've sewn it together, it's going to be flat anyway. I think it's because it's different stitches, it just pulls it in a little bit with the granny. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to make this one. Now, if you're watching this as my year of granny squares, the left-handed version will be as soon as this one finishes. If you're watching it in a compilation video, then the left-handed one will be separate. But I'll put a timestamp in the description box for the year of granny squares so you can easily find the left-handed version. But I do know that many of you like to watch both for me. So I had a little play with it. And you can do it in two different colours. I'm sorry that they're a bit bright and glary. They are a little bit, but I just grabbed what was handy. So yes, you can do it. There is a drawback. This is the drawback. Carrying the yarn does not work, but some of them, as you get further in, you can see you can work them in on this row, on this particular segment and this one. You can work over them, and it's just when you come to doing a granny, then you can't. You've only kind of worked over 3 stitches there, so you might have rather a lot of spaghetti hanging out the back. But if this is the effect that you would like, regardless of the colour that you're choosing, obviously, then it is possible. And all I did to achieve it was when I came to any corner and I had to do my colour change, I would go through 2 stitches and then change colour before I did the chain. So on every single corner, that's what I did. So obviously you do get quite a bit of ends. Okay, so I'm going to do this one in this colour, and I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook. You will need a pair of scissors, a darning needle, but there won't be many ends if we're just doing the one colour, so that's a godsend. Okay, So if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Hopefully you'll be informed when new videos pop up. Thought something was missing and wasn't wearing my glasses. Okay, that's better. Okay, so we're going to start off by doing a slip knot and 4 chain. You don't have to leave a long tail. In fact, that's a bit too long. I don't know why I worry, because it's not like I need the yarn. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we're going to make a ring by slip stitching into our first one, and we've got this little tiny ring now, and if you open it you can just about see the center stitch. Okay, so I'm going to start with the UK stacked double crochet, which is a stacked single crochet in the US. I'm going to pull up a loop, go through 2, and in this vertical post or bar, leg, whatever you want to call it, I'm just going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and if you look, that's the equivalent of 2 chains to get up to the height of my first UK treble crochet, which is a double crochet in the US. So if I refer to those stitches in UK terms, you'll know what ones I'm talking about if you follow in US. So now I've got 1 stitch, I need 2 more, so I'm going to make 2 UK treble crochets. So that is through 2 and through 2. And another one, it's obviously a double crochet for you guys across the pond. So now I have my 3 stitches. I'm going to chain 1 and place 3 more, working over the tail, because, you know, if we can, we want to avoid the sewing in of ends, that's a perfect way to do it. So I've done my 3rd one. I'm going to chain 1 and do another 3. So the start of this is the same as any other granny square. And I only ever chain 1 between my corners and things. So I'm chaining 1 between these segments. Okay, so this is my last cluster of 3, but I'm not going to chain. I'm going to join in a different way. So I just needed to pull that aside a little bit. Okay, so now I have my 4 clusters of 3 separated by these chains. So I've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now I want the same distance, but I want to make half a corner. Sorry about that, guys. I needed to sneeze. I've got a bit of a cold. So yeah, I need to make half a corner on my next round. So I'm going to not slip stitch, but I'm going to do a UK double crochet, which is a single in the US, into that first stitch. And because I have done that stack, I've got the 2 loops to go in. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those, and it gives me the same gap between my segments. Okay, so now I'm going to just go straight in to that space and pull up my loop and do that stacked double crochet again. Okay, so I'm going to place 1 UK treble next to it. So we're now working on this particular row. Okay, so we're doing alternate solid and normal grannies. So because of that, I'm going to go in these 3 stitches with a UK treble crochet. And I'm going to do my corner, okay? So for the solid granny square half, we do 2 chains. Sorry, 2 UK trebles, not 2 chains. What am I talking about? 2 stitches and 1 chain. We're onto the granny side, and our grannies are clusters of 3. So I'm going to place 3 in this half of the corner. It does seem strange, but it works out. So now I'm still on the granny side. I'm going to place 3 in this corner. These are the harder rows to do because you're setting it up. I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm working opposite of this one on another solid, so it's 2 in the next half of the corner. And now I'm going to place 3 in my side. So that's my first one. It sometimes gets a little hidden. 1, 2, and 3. And because this corner, the first half of it is the solid, we're going to place 2, 1 chain, and now we're on the granny side, so we're doing 3. It does seem confusing, but after a while it becomes obvious. So now we're going to complete this first corner. We're on the granny side, so we're going to place 3. If I ever go ahead of you, just pause it and catch up. So now we've completed our square. We're going to join with a UK double crochet to the top of our chain. Stitch, not tray. Keep saying chain. What on earth's going on? So yeah, that's those 2 loops. Going to pull up my loop, yarn over and pull through both of them. So now we have the start of a solid couple of sides and a granny couple of sides. So we're back on the solid side. So in my space, I'm going to place my UK stack double and 1 UK treble. Now I'm going to go in all of these stitches along here, which are 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that is all of the stitches along my side. Half of this corner is the solid side, so we're doing 2 in that corner, 1 chain. Now we're on the granny side, so we're starting with our corner of 3, and now we're going to place 3 in between the granny of our side, and 3 in the first half of the corner. And we're going to chain 1. Whoops, does help to keep you hooking. And now we're on the solid side of our corner. It's 2. And then we want to place 1 in each one of the next 7. So our first stitch got a little hidden that time. I haven't paused the video because it's a bit confusing when you start this, and you know, I want to stick with you so that it wouldn't get confusing. We'll do it together. So as I say, if I go ahead at any time, just pause me. Okay, so we're back at the corner. So this is the solid side. So we start with our 2. And our chain. Now we're on the granny side. A cluster of 3 to finish that corner. A cluster of 3 in the middle of the side. And we need to finish off that corner, and it's the granny side, so a cluster of 3. That sound is my wool genie knocking as the wool goes around. So as you can see, this is the granny side that pulls that in. Okay, so I'm going to join to the top of my first stitch with my UK double crochet. So now it's just growing this, okay? So we're going to go straight back in and make our stack and do a 1 UK treble. And I think we've got 15 along the side now. We're just going to go and do 1 in each. I'll pause the video because it is going to get boring to watch me do that now. And I'll catch up with you when we get to the corner. Okay, I've done that, and of course I made a mistake. It was 11, not 15. It was 11. I've just gone way ahead of myself. Okay, so in the corner, we're going to do that exactly the same way as before with 2, 1 chain and 3, because we're now on the granny side. So you can do this square where you have 2 solid and 2 granny, or you can do it this way around. Okay, so now we're going to place 3 in each of our side segments. So that's how this is going to grow. You'll increase by a couple every time along your solid sides, and you'll increase by 1 extra segment along the granny side. So we've got the corner, which is 3 because we're on the granny side. And a chain, and then 2 because we're now on the solid side. Okay, and we're going to place 1 in all of those stitches along. Then we're going to do our corner consisting of 2, 1 chain, 3, and then our segments of 3. I'm going to catch up with you once I get back to the start. Okay, so I'm all the way back at the corner. I'm going to do my last segment of 3 in there. Okay, so on this one I did another round, so I'm going to do that with you guys. So that is just a slip stitch, a UK double crochet into that corner space, and we're going to start again. We're going to go back in with our stack and our 1 treble there, and now I believe we've got 13. Let's count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No, maybe this is when we got the I knew there was a 15 somewhere. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This is where you have the 15, not when you had 11. Anyway, whoever said I knew what I was doing. Okay, so now we're going to go in 1 in the sides all the way along and till we get to the corner. So I'm sure you know what you're doing now, because this is, you know, the final kind of round. Incidentally, you can make this as big or as small as you want. If you want to carry on making larger, make a larger square, then you can. I guess this one is probably about a 5-inch, would you say? 5.5. You can carry on, make another. You could even do a bigger kind of border or a couple around, but you could just carry on, make the squares as large as you want. It's the same principle as the last round. It's just going to grow, that's all. It will just grow, not necessarily by the amount you think when you come to add up how many along the side, but you know, that's just never mind. It's not important, is it? It's just it's just maths. Okay, so there we have our 2, our 1 chain. Now we're on the granny. We're going to carry on round doing the granny side. So that's 3 here, 3 in all the sides, and then we're going to do our solid side. All right then, so I'm going to pause it because you've seen this before, and I'm going to go all the way around, catch up with you when we get here, and we'll do that border. Okay, so I've got all the way around now. I should have known really, because every time you do a side along the solid, you gain 4 stitches from the corners, so you're going 2 and 2. So I ought to have known my maths really, but I blame my illness. Okay, so we're all the way to the end, and whether you've done another round or 2 is up to you. So this time around I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top 2 loops
of my first stitch, and I'm going to chain 1, pull it down. I'm going to chop this yarn off and end that colour. And that's the end of the coloured bit. So we're going to bring in some white. It's a very kind of pearly white. It's not brilliant white. I'm just going to join a different corner. Oh, let's put my glasses back on. Okay, so you've got a bit of a choice of borders when it comes to the border. And I'm just going to join how I normally do. And in this border here, I'm going to just do a UK double crochet. What I did with this one, I just did a simple row of UK doubles, and I did 3 in the corner, although I don't often do that anymore. Sometimes with this one it worked out that it looked a bit better. So I've done my first one, and I'm going to place another one in that corner. That's 2 for now, but it's half my corner. And well, I know it's not strictly speaking, but it works out as half when you get round the other side. And now I'm just going to place 1 UK double crochet in every single stitch, and I'm going to work over that tail as I go. Nice and easy. Okay. I'm going to pause the video then, because that is a tad boring, and I shall catch up with you when I get to the next corner. Okay, so here I am at the corner, and I'm just going to do 3 in this corner. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to work over this tail and just do 1 in every stitch along the side, just as I did in the previous side, all the way to the corner. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to pause this. I'm going to go all the way along here, I'm going to work over the tail, I'm going to put 3 in this corner, and I'm going to do 1 in each of these, put 3 in this corner, and do 1 in each of these stitches. I'll catch up with you once we get back to the corner, and we'll finish this off together. Okay, so I'm more or less there at the corner now. So we've placed 2, we're going to place our 3rd. And then if we slip stitch into the first one, then we end up in the dead centre. I'm just going to pull that down, chain, and snip that off, and take my work. And all you need to do really is these granny sides do pull it in just a little bit, but it's a square. You just need to kind of tease it in. But if you were just sewing them together, it would pull it into its shape. It'd be fine. But it's just 1 tail, because the rest were worked over, so all they need is snipping off. It's just this one offending tail, which is a darn sight better than this one, but it does look nice if you want to manipulate colours there. So, you know, but do be aware if you do that, you're going to have a fair few tails, because working them in does not work. I tried doing some of them and just working over them, it's not great. So to just do this, I'm going on to the reverse side, and I'm going to take it down. See, this is coming out of here, so I'm going to go straight into this one and go downwards first of all. And I'm going to pull that knot in, and then you can just tease the corner, but just without the knot being visible. The knot's now inside my stitch, and I can just come through a few of these along the side. Oops. I'm trying to get where it shouldn't go. Okay, so I've done that. Don't need to tug it so that it distorts the shape of my corner though. And now we're going to go back through, so I'm going to catch this particular stitch, which I didn't go through before. You can do that, or you can just split a stitch if you've not got one to do that with. And then just go along here with a few more. That's it, so we've gone back and forth, and it will be fine, so just snip that off. And then we can snip off these ends unless you want to poke them through the other way just to be ultra secure. But I'm just going to pop them off. And there we are. We're done. We have our square. And you can, as I say, you can block them if you wish, or just sewing them together. They're quite square. They're not too kind of unsquare, if that's the word. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Take care, everyone. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and in this year of Granny Squares, this particular week we're going to make this Christmas tree, and it is a little tricky with colour work. It's also does make a lot of ends, which I've now sewn in, but as you can see it does make quite a bit of ends. This was another one I was working on, but I've decided I didn't like and perfected it. So this is the one. Now just a little note that if you are looking for the left-handed tutorial, you will find that just as soon as this one finishes. I'll put a timestamp in the description box below, although I know a lot of you like to watch both for me, so that's great. But it will be there. Now you can leave it at this, or you can go around it with another row. You can make it in any colours and make anything you want with this. I've used cotton yarn. It's a DK weight yarn and a 4mm crochet hook. Obviously you need a darning needle and scissors, and okay, I'm just going to clear away and we'll get started. In the meantime, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you hopefully will get informed when new videos pop up. So to make this square, I'm going to make the beginning is very much like any other granny square. So I'm going to make a slip knot and chain 4. You can do the magic ring if you want, but it's a granny, so I don't mind a small hole in the centre. Okay, so I'm going to join that with a slip stitch to make a ring, and in the centre of this ring I'm going to place a UK stacked double crochet, which is a stacked single crochet in the US. So I'm just going to pull up a loop through that ring, yarn over and pull through both of those. Then in this vertical side one here, insert my hook, make another UK double crochet, which is a single crochet in the US. Now that's got me up to the height of a UK treble, and I'm going to place 2 in there. Now UK treble is a double crochet in the US, so if I say a UK treble crochet, you will know, if you work in American terms, that I mean a double crochet for you guys. So there is the equivalent of 3 UK trebles. I'm going to chain 1 and place another 3 in the same space. I'm working over the tail, so if I do want to pull it closed a little bit, I can do that if I want to. Also, it stops me having to sew it in. So now I have 2 lots. I want a total of 4 lots of 3 with 1 chain in between. There's my third. I want 1 more, so I'll pull that aside a little way and place 3 more in that space. Now I'm using cotton for this, but you can use any yarn, as I said, but I just thought it might make it nice to make something for the table or something for Christmas or something. Okay, so I'm just going to join to the top of my stack, which is these 2 loops at the top of this stitch, with a UK double crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over and pull up my loop. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those, and that gives me the same distance between my stitches as a chain. Okay, so I'm going to insert my hook and pull up my loop and do my stack. I know it's in the UK a stack double, but a stack single in the US, so I just call it the stack. Okay, so I'm going to place 2 UK treble crochets alongside that in that same space. Just get rid of that tail, shall we? It's got a nice little, don't need to pull it tight or anything. It won't get in the way. This does create a few ends, I must say. So if you don't like ends, got your work cut out. So in the next one, I'm going to place a full corner, which is a segment of 3, just as we've been doing all along. 1 chain and 3 more. Okay, so I'm going to do a full corner in this one and a full corner in this one. I'll pause the video then and I shall come back to you and we'll finish this corner off together. Okay, so I'm back all the way around. I need to go into this one, place my last 3. And I'm going to join the same way, top of the stack, going through the 2 loops with a UK double crochet. Okay, so again, I'm going to do my stack. And I'm going to place 3 in there. And 3 in the side. Then I'm going to place a full corner in this next corner. So far, very straightforward. This is where it gets a little tricky. On my very last stitch of this 3, I'm going to go through these 2 loops. I'm going to cut this yarn. I'm going to bring in a white yarn. If I can find the end. Nope, hang on a second. Okay, so I'm going to change colour. So I'm going to hold on to this and bring in my new yarn and complete that stitch with that colour. So you do want to secure these and you need to sew them in at the end. There's a lot of this, so unfortunately we will have a lot of ends. It's just kind of the nature of this one. So you can either work over some or not. It's completely up to you. So let's separate the ends now. I'm going to leave them because otherwise it will get very confusing. Okay, so now this is another side. I'm going to place 3 in that side. And don't worry if the these joins do look a bit messy or anything like that. We'll be working over them. So don't worry if yours are quite messy. Now a full corner in this one here. Just bear with me one moment. Sorry about that. I just had to refer to my the one I made earlier because it's very confusing. So this last one, I'm going to change colour again. Okay, so you want to just have the 2 loops left. And it is annoying to keep changing, but we're going to change again in a minute. It just doesn't look very nice carrying your yarn. I've tried it. Okay. So I'm going to finish that stitch in this colour. And once again, I'm going to secure this. Now, it's imperative that you do that somehow. It gets a little tricky and a little messy if you don't. You have a preferred method? That's great. Okay, so losing them tails again, forgetting about those. We're going to have a lot of spaghetti hanging out the back of our work this time. In this one, we are going to place 3. But on our
third one, we're going to stop there and change our colour back. I have tried other methods. It's by far the less confusing, and it looks confusing, but believe me, it's the less of the evils. Again, we need to secure this. Oh my, more fingers and thumbs. Still, they're hands, so it's just the way it is. Okay, again, ignoring all those tails, we are going to continue around our corner in white. Our side in white, but on our last stitch, you probably guessed it, we need to stop there, change back to our green to finish our corner. Now, this was a trade-off. I could have started in the side and it would not have been seamless, but I'm more concerned with my granny squares being seamless than I am another little join. So yeah, I can't get that in. There we are. Okay, so now I'm just going to finish off my green. Okay, so bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to bring the one that I was working on to show you, and I'll come straight back. Okay, so this is the one that I made earlier, and I did a few experiments. I wanted to see if I could make this a point, so I did a treble 3 together, but it didn't work out the way that went like that. And I wanted a pot, so none of these really worked that well, so I'm going to abandon that idea. So now this is the end of my green, so I'm just going to do a chain and slip stitch into that stitch rather than, okay, end that, and now we're just purely on the white. Okay, so you can join, look at that, any corner that you like. We'll pick this white one because it's not got a tail hanging off it miraculously. Okay, and we're just going to join our white to there, and we're going to do our stack. And our 2 trebles at the side. Okay. Now, ordinarily, I'd work over those tails, but there's really no point, is there? There's so many of them. So with this one, all I did was some chains and do kind of like a double treble all the way down to make this pot. But I'm not really sure that I like it as such. And this didn't go according to plan. So we're going to leave it. We're just going to do a whole round in white. And that will, where we can, we'll work over a tail. Even if it's just a little way, like this one, I can probably work over 2 tails there, and then deal with them afterwards a little more securely. So here we are. That dropped that one. Now I'm going to, this is how I do my corners. I'm going to give you a little insight. This is over here and I want it over there. So I'm just going to grab, not that white, but I'm going to grab this green. You don't have to do this, but it's just a way of working over the tail. So now when I work this corner, I can work over that tail at the same time. It just brings it across and I can get rid of some of my tails that way. Okay, finish off my corner.
Get rid of that now. Looking better already. Okay, so we're going to do our 3 here. If you wanted to, this is where you could bring in a colour and make a little... I'm going to carry the yarn though this time. So finish my colour, finish my white, I mean. Bring in my colour, we'll give it a little tie. Just because it does help a little bit. Just tie it a small amount, just to secure it. It doesn't come back on itself. Okay, so I'm going to work... No, I won't. I'll work over the white. It doesn't work, does it? Snip it off, and that's a pain. But, well, you know, we've got 20 million of them, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Okay, so now, in here, I'm just going to do 1, 2. Didn't go through all of it. And 3. Finish that. Let's get rid of this. Isn't that about the long tail? 20 million tails. What does it matter just having another one? Don't have to do this pot, but I just thought it'd be nice. Finish that off. Give it a little secure. Look at that spaghetti. Oh my God. I did try working them, but it didn't work out. I will show you exactly what happens if you try working over them. Some of them looked better than others, but you get this, you know, and you can see it, and I don't like it. It's just not great. So yeah, abandoned that idea. So here we are back in our normal granny. So 3 in the next stitch. That was just an add-on. Okay, now we're doing our corner. Nothing to work over there, unfortunately. Normal corner. And can we work over anything? Yes, we've got a couple of tails. Woot woot. Don't want to grab the wrong thing because that doesn't help. It only helps if you can remove some from... Well, I'll still have to secure them a little bit. But it saves a bit of work. And I'm all for that. Okay, full corner. We're getting to the top of our tree. And this is where I tried to do a peak. And it didn't work. So I'm going to abandon that idea. But if you had a little motif of a star or just a little star, you can sew that on there. Look pretty cute. And so 3 there. Drop those. Any here? Should be. We'll just work over the green then. And 3. So. Don't have to work over any of them if you'd rather just sew them in. And then finish the corner. Going to chain 1 and secure it. When I'm finally finished, I do a chain in the corner and secure it, because then it is identical to every other corner. Oh look, another end to sew in. There we are. We'll hide them for now underneath. And we have... Oh, I didn't really do a good job. Tuck in. Look at that. Once you've secured your ends, you've got your Christmas tree. And of course you can go around again if you want. You can go around in a different colour. So, yeah. I think it still looks like a Christmas tree, even though we haven't peaked that top. But I think it's kind of cute. Look good for anything really, like a table runner or something Christmassy. Thanks for watching. And I hope you like that one. Bye-bye for now. So to make this square, I'm going to make the beginning is very much like any other granny square. So I'm going to make a slip knot and chain 4. You can do the magic ring if you want, but it's a granny, so I don't mind a small hole in the centre. Okay, so I'm going to join that with a slip stitch to make a ring. And in the centre of this ring, I'm going to place a UK stacked double crochet, which is a stacked single crochet in the US. So I'm just going to pull up a loop through that ring, yarn over and pull through both of those. Then in this vertical side one here, insert my hook, make another UK double crochet, which is a single crochet in the US. Now that's got me up to the height of a UK treble, and I'm going to place 2 in there. Now UK treble is a double crochet in the US, so if I say a UK treble crochet, you will know, if you work in American terms, that I mean a double crochet for you guys. So there is the equivalent of 3 UK trebles. Going to chain 1 and place another 3 in the same space. I'm working over the tail, so if I do want to pull it closed a little bit, I can do that if I want to. Also, it stops me having to sew it in. So now I have 2 lots. I want a total of 4 lots of 3 with 1 chain in between. There's my third. I want 1 more, so I'll pull that aside a little way and place 3 more in that space. Now I'm using cotton for this, but you can use any yarn, as I said, but I just thought it might make it nice to make something for the table or something for Christmas or something. Okay, so I'm just going to join to the top of my stack, which is these 2 loops at the top of this stitch, with a UK double crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over and pull up my loop. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those, and that gives me the same distance between my stitches as a chain. Okay, so I'm going to insert my hook and pull up my loop and do my stack. I know it's in the UK a stack double, but a stack single in the US, so I just call it the stack. Okay, so I'm going to place 2 UK treble crochets alongside that in that same space. Just get rid of that tail, shall we? It's got a nice little, don't need to pull it tight or anything. It won't get in the way. This does create a few ends, I must say. So if you don't like ends, got your work cut out. So in the next one, I'm going to place a full corner, which is a segment of 3, just as we've been doing all along. 1 chain and 3 more. Okay, so I'm going to do a full corner in this one and a full corner in this one. I'll pause the video then and I shall come back to you and we'll finish this corner off together. Okay, so I'm back all the way around. I need to go into this one, place my last 3. And I'm going to join the same way, top of the stack, going through the 2 loops with a UK double crochet. Okay, so again, I'm going to do my stack. And I'm going to place 3 in there. And 3 in the side. Then I'm going to place a full corner in this next corner. So far, very straightforward. This is where it gets a little tricky. on my very last stitch of this 3, I'm going to go through these 2 loops. I'm going to cut this yarn. I'm going to bring in a white yarn. If I can find the end. Nope, hang on a second. Okay, so I'm going to change colour. So I'm going to hold on to this and bring in my new yarn and complete that stitch with that colour. So you do want to secure these, and you need to sew them in at the end. There's a lot of this, so unfortunately we will have a lot of ends. It's just kind of the nature of this one. So you can either work over some or not. It's completely up to you. So let's separate the ends now. I'm going to leave them because otherwise it will get very confusing. Okay, so now this is another side. I'm going to place 3 in that side. And don't worry if the these joins do look a bit messy or anything like that. We'll be working over them. So don't worry if yours are quite messy. Now a full corner in this one here. Just bear with me one moment. Sorry about that. I just had to refer to my the one I made earlier because it's very confusing. So this last one, I'm going to change colour again. Okay, so you want to just have the 2 loops left. And it is annoying to keep changing, but we're going to change again in a minute. It doesn't look very nice carrying your yarn. I've tried it. Okay, so I'm going to finish that stitch in this colour. And once again, I'm going to secure this. Now, it's imperative that you do that somehow. It gets a little tricky and a little messy if you don't. You have a preferred method? That's great. Okay, so losing them tails again, forgetting about those. We're going to have a lot of spaghetti hanging out the back of our work this time. In this one, we are going to place 3. But on our third one, we're going to stop there and change our colour back. I have tried other methods. It's by far the less confusing, and it looks confusing, but believe me, it's the less of the evils. Again, we need to secure this. Oh my, more fingers and thumbs. Still, they're hands, so it's just the way it is. Okay, again, ignoring all those tails, we are going to continue around our corner in white. Our side in white, but on our last stitch, you probably guessed it, we need to stop there, change back to our green to finish our corner. Now this was a trade-off. I could have started in the side and it would not have been seamless, but I'm more concerned with my granny squares being seamless than I am another little join. So yeah, I can't get that in. There we are. Okay, so now I'm just going to finish off my green. Okay, so bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to bring the one that I was working on to show you, and I'll come straight back. Okay, so this is the one that I made earlier, and I did a few experiments. I wanted to see if I could make this a point. So I did a treble 3 together, but it didn't work out the way that went like that. And I wanted a pot. So none of these really worked that well. So I'm going to abandon that idea. So now this is the end of my green. So I'm just going to do a chain and slip stitch into that stitch rather than, okay, end that. And now we're just purely on the white. Okay, so you can join, look at that, any corner that you like. We'll pick this white one because it's not got a tail hanging off it, miraculously. Okay, and we're just going to join our white to there, and we're going to do our stack. And our 2 trebles at the side. Okay, now ordinarily I'd work over those tails, but there's really no point, is there? There's so many of them. So with this one, all I did was some chains and do kind of like a double treble all the way down to make this pot. But I'm not really sure that I like it as such. And this didn't go according to plan, so we're going to leave it. We're just going to do a whole round in white, and that will, where we can, we'll work over a tail, even if it's just a little way, like this one. I can probably work over 2 tails there, and then deal with them afterwards a little more securely. So here we are. Drop that one. Now I'm going to, this is how I do my corners. I'm going to give you a little insight. This is over here and I want it over there. So I'm just going to grab, not that white, but I'm going to grab this green. You don't have to do this, but it's just a way of working over the tail. So now when I work this corner, I can work over that tail at the same time. It just brings it across, and I can get rid of some of my tails that way. Okay, finish off my corner. Get rid of that now. Looking better already. Okay, so we're going to do our 3 here. If you wanted to, this is where you could bring in a colour and make a little... I'm going to carry the yarn though this time. So finish my colour, finish my white, I mean. Bring in my colour. We'll give it a little tie, just because it does help a little bit. Just tie it a small amount, just to secure it. It doesn't come back on itself. Okay, so I'm going to work. No, I won't. I'll work over the white. That doesn't work, does it? Snip it off, and that's pain. But well, you know, we've got 20 million of them, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Okay, so now in here, I'm just going to do 1, 2. Didn't go through all of it. And 3. Finish that. Let's get rid of this. Doesn't matter about the long tail. 20 million tails. What does it matter just having another one? Don't have to do this pot, but I just thought it'd be nice. Finish that off. Give it a little secure. Look at that spaghetti. Oh my God. I did try working them, but it didn't work out. I will show you exactly what happens if you try working over them. Some of them looked better than others, but you get this, you know, and you can see it, and I don't like it. It's just not great. So yeah, abandoned that idea. So here we are. We are back in our normal granny. So 3 in the next stitch. That was just an add-on. Okay, now we're doing our corner. Nothing to work over there, unfortunately. Normal corner. And can we work over anything? Yes, we've got a couple of tails. Woot woot. Don't want to grab the wrong thing because that doesn't help. It only helps if you can remove some from, well, I'll still have to secure them a little bit. But it saves a bit of work, and I'm all for that. Okay, full corner. We're getting to the top of our tree, and this is where I tried to do a peak, and it didn't work, so I'm going to abandon that idea. But if you had a little motif of a star, or just a little star, you can sew that on there. Look pretty cute. And so 3 there. Drop those. Any here? Should be. We'll just work over the green then. And 3. So don't have to work over any of them if you'd rather just sew them in. And then finish the corner. Going to chain 1 and secure it. When I've finally finished, I do a chain in the corner and secure it, because then it is identical to every other corner. Oh look, another end to sew in. There we are. We'll hide them for now underneath. And we have, oh, I didn't really do a good job. Tuck in. Look at that. Once you've secured your ends, you've got your Christmas tree. And of course you can go around again if you want. We can go around in a different colour. So, yeah. I think it still looks like a Christmas tree, even though we haven't peaked that top. But I think it's kind of cute. Look good for anything really, like a table runner or something Christmassy. Thanks for watching. And I hope you like that one. Bye-bye for now.